This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
The Art of the Builder, Elevating Construction Superintendents, a principle-based leadership guide for assistant supers and superintendents in construction. Copyright 2020, Jason Schroeder, all rights reserved, ISBN 979-85-733-30952. Elevating Construction Superintendents, written by Jason Schroeder, edited by Joan Wilden, narrated by Katie Schroeder. Dedication. I want to personally thank all the builders who have been patient with me and this work. The intent of this first edition is to roll out the first lean version of a book that will help our field builders to be more effective, lead better, and lead remarkable lives. If this work helps to do that, it has done its job, but will not be complete without continual feedback, added content, and additional stories we hope will be provided by our builders in the field. Without that input, this book will not reach its ultimate goal. This book is dedicated to the leaders in construction who bear the brunt of all the stress, variation, and impossible circumstances they deal with every day. I have always said, no one will ever truly know stress unless they have been a superintendent. My hope is that this work will make your role a little more manageable, a little more fun, and a little less impactful to your family. On we go. Preface by Jason Schroeder. Some of the greatest leaders in history were shaped by the books they read. George Washington was heavily influenced by a book on manners and etiquette that helped him develop a physical presence that few dared to question. Abraham Lincoln transformed himself from a poor, uneducated boy on the frontier to the President of the United States with the help of the texts he had access to in his early years. General George S. Patton, arguably one of the most successful combat generals in American history, developed his skills by reading books about war, history, and military combat strategy. When I became a superintendent, I wanted to follow the lead of these great minds and sharpen my leadership skills using the books related to my field. I could find guides and manuals about project management, field engineering, lean, BIM, and more, but they were all primarily dedicated to function and form. Where were the books about the art of being a builder? Where was the construction equivalent of Sun Tzu's Art of War? Because I couldn't find a book that wholly engaged me, I decided to write one myself and aptly named it The Art of the Builder. The idea for this book emerged from observations spanning 7 years during my early career when I worked for a large general contractor as a field trainer. I would travel from project to project across the United States, observing, training, and learning lessons through each interaction. I boarded a plane over 500 times to perform my responsibilities. The principles gleaned from this book will help leaders command with purpose to better control the outcomes on their projects. The book is styled after the bestseller How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The role of a superintendent is too complex and detailed to summarize with just one story, so my intent is to communicate principles generally organized into many stories. Additionally, much like Carnegie's classic book, I intend to collect and insert feedback as future revisions are published. The inclusions of stories, principles, and feedback will be critical to representing the role of a superintendent in various circumstances. I invite you to share your insights, added principles, and stories that will enhance this book for future editions. Additionally, this book is specifically written for assistant superintendents and superintendents in our industry. These positions are typically the Super 1 and 2 positions. The next work in this series will be Elevating Construction Senior Superintendents, which will apply to Super 3, 4, and 5 positions of Project Superintendent, Senior Superintendent, and General Superintendent. There is much more that could be written in this work, but it felt appropriate to write about the concepts that would take this level of superintendent to the next level. If you observe theory or steps missing in this work, it will either be covered in the next book or in-person training and boot camps. It may be information that should be learned as company-specific training or will be added to a second revision. Most superintendents become naturally skilled with things like cranes, industry norms, and means and methods. That is not something that is typically missing from their toolbox. Our intent is to provide supers with tools that are not commonly provided or readily available. As you read this work, please think about the stories and feedback you could provide to enhance this work. Here's an example of the type of stories wanted. The hammer story. Leaders need to have a broader perspective on how to deal with people. To illustrate this need, I offer the following story, which was told to me by one of our project superintendents, Mike. Mike said, I was a quality control manager on a project called the Marble Hills Nuclear Generating Station in southern Indiana. The project superintendent, Dave, was one of those hard-nosed superintendents who liked to throw his hard hat around and berate people. A rainy day brought Dave into my office to chat, and at some point during our conversation, Dave said to me, I just don't understand my guys. I think I have everything lined out and everyone understands the plan. Then I go out there and they're not doing what I want them to do. So I go back out, pull everyone together, and repeat to them what I want them to do. I yell and scream a little, throw a hard hat for show, and think I have everything squared away. But a few days later, I see they're still not doing it right, and that just drives me crazy. I could see that Dave was frustrated, but I decided to take a bold approach. I asked, if you hired a carpenter in the morning, and by 10 o'clock you realized that the only tool he could use with any success was a claw hammer, what would you do? Without hesitation, Dave said firmly, I would fire him. I asked him why. Dave responded, well, if you can't use the tools of the trade like a pry bar, a screwdriver, and all the other tools a carpenter is supposed to use, then he's not a carpenter at all. Without missing a beat, I responded, so what makes you any different than that carpenter? He gave me a blank stare, so I continued, seriously, Dave, when it comes to management, the only tool you know how to use is a hammer. You're missing all the leadership tools that should be hanging on your superintendent tool belt. If you don't have those tools, then you're nothing but a pusher, and pushers are a dime a dozen in this industry. Dave sat there looking out the window for a while, then got up and walked right out of the office without saying another word. 3 days went by before he walked back into my office and said, tell me that hammer story again? We had a long discussion and he agreed that people don't always like to be pushed. Sometimes they want to be pulled, supported, trusted, or motivated by some other approach. I realized, Dave said, there are many other tools that are valuable in our tool belt when dealing with people.
Introduction. Cultural Creation. In Lessons of History by Will and Ariel Durant, the authors attempt to summarize the themes they had found in the 11-volume work called The Story of Civilization. Anthropologists had long claimed that the destinies of empires were determined by war, morality, form of government, or a myriad of other things. In their book, Will and Ariel Durant suggest the rise and fall of an empire hangs in the balance of something called cultural creation. Roughly defined, a culture is comprised of the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. The Durants argue that the customs of a culture, and specifically the behaviors that motivate those customs, determine a society's fate more than the external conditions. If internal culture plays a major role in a society's destiny, then it follows that the beliefs, decisions, and actions of a business will also decide its fate. This book was written to shape the culture for all field builders. It is not a detailed step-by-step framework of what to do and how to manage your projects. It is a collection of stories, lessons, and encouragement that will hopefully shape the culture leadership of your company. This book was written specifically for superintendents. Know that every word you hear was meant to be heard as if we're speaking directly to you. Think about what you're hearing and try to apply it to your project management style. If you allow these lessons to influence your way of thinking, you will see immediate results in your effectiveness as a builder. Command with purpose, control the outcome. Most of us have learned more from projects that have gone wrong than we have from projects that have gone right. In this industry, there are jobs that finish behind schedule, over budget, and with poor quality. There are projects that are filthy, out of control, and seem to have no specific leader. Interestingly, and unfortunately, these projects seem to be the rule and not the exception. This is unnecessary, and it is caused by contractors not having command of their projects and failing to control the outcomes. Think about it like this. If an owner provides the correct funding for the project and the owner or design build partner provides an adequate design according to the normal standards of care, then the remaining considerations are the responsibility of the builder. One might say external conditions such as weather, equipment, or economic conditions are out of their control, but with the right preparation, the builder will have planned for such externalities. The destiny of a project is in the hands of the builder, and as such, that destiny is fated by their attention to command and control. There are many trade partners and vendors in our industry who can work at peak performance but are not allowed to. Take, for example, an outstanding electrician doing in-wall roughin for the interiors of a building. She plans her work, coordinates the roughin locations, prefabricates what she can, and has her manpower ready and geared to go for the benefit of her company and the project. What if the design then changes? What if other trades fail to coordinate with her roughin locations? What if they fall behind and do not provide the work needed ahead of her? What if other trades leave open holes in the areas that are released to her? Even with all her preparation, the proficient electrician will lose production time, fall behind, perform rework, and lose faith in the overall processes of the project. In this case, the general contractor failed to provide suitable command and control. The general contractor owed the electrician a controlled project that would allow her to leverage her abilities. The coordination effort should have included all trades, and its plan should have been enforced. The design changes should have been isolated so the main workforce was not derailed. The general contractor should have educated the other trade partners and enforced the concept of pulling work and finishing on time. And the general contractor should have created a system to see potential problems that may have arisen in the work and prevented them through standard processes. You can be sure when you see chaos on a project, schedules pushing behind, bad quality, and safety issues, that no one is in command and no one is in control. We must be in control of our projects to create remarkable experiences and shared success.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.